I'm start recording and welcome everyone on the Kyma Working Group Prow Migration. Today I will be your host and Suleiman Akbas is taking notes and agenda is following. At the beginning I will present the current status and next priorities as usual. And next two topics from Michał Hudy. He will present the status of migration to a new GCP project and he will describe how to work with Prow when Jenkins is gone. So at the beginning, let's check what we have achieved in the recent week. 27 pull requests were merged, and let me go through the most important of them. And so, for example, we made a lot of improvements in all periodic jobs that are responsible for cleaning resources. For example, we improve disk cleaner logs. We also created a job that removes orphaned clusters and probably also job for removing orphaned virtual machine instances. What is next? Additionally, we disable the functionality OK to test from Prow. So now when external contributors want to create a pull request, he will able to do that, but jobs will not be triggered automatically. So he need to ask someone from the Kyma team to trigger the test by adding comment there. We also migrated Procluster to new GCP project, and more details will be provided by Michał. We finally add monitoring to our Prow, and it was presented on the previous meeting, as you probably remember. And recently, we also define release process. So let me very quickly show how it looks like. In the docs directory, we updated two documentations. First is Kyma release process, and here the most important thing is that we are going to most of the work will be done on the pull request, and we have also one post-submit job that will be responsible for creating GitHub release and add a Git tag. Here we also have detailed action plan for release, so what needs to be done. Also, the calculation of the release image tag is much more simple than previously. So it is also important to notice that. And we provide also migration guide for release jobs. So here we have we are more focused how to define job for a specific component. And one more thing, because I think we should all be aware that this release process is not yet final. So together with Magda, we created an issue, make Kyma release process more robust. So here we describe what a potential problem we can see and how they can be solved. So please also familiarize yourself with that issue, with all comments you can find here, because we need for your help. Maybe you can find better solutions for our problems. And let's get back to that board. And what else? Oh, small but very nice feature with add Kyma branding to Pro. So whenever you go to the status build Kyma project.io, now you can see Kyma logo and instead of the Kubernetes logo. And we also started disabling some Jenkins jobs. For example, we have here community repository, and probably that's all. Now let's go to our board. Here we have in this the most important epic about providing pipelines for components, and as you can see, all issues are closed. Only two are to accept, but probably today we'll move it to close. So in the accept, we have, for example, issue about validating if all images built by Pro are correct. So we validate that, and now everything is fine. And also, please have a look what is the status of this Epic Hardening Pro cluster. So recently we make a huge progress, and we also clean up a little bit that Epic. So we have only two issues that are blocked, one in progress and one in review, and the rest is closed or accepted. And what are the next plans? So we need to work on the Pro pipeline for releasing Kyma. So we need to provide pipelines for every component, as also as jobs responsible for release specific tasks. And we plan on the next week to start disabling Jenkins plans and enabling fully enable Pro jobs. So we hope that we'll finish it till the end of next week. And that's all from my side. So now let's go to the next point in our agenda. And Michał Chudy. Michał, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Okay, so let me share my screen. This one. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so perfect. Okay, about the status of the migration, the Prow to the new GCP project. As some of you already know, the Prow has been fully migrated to new project. Right now, it is limited to only 4 people have access to that project. So I also uploaded every secret, also for GitHub user bot, and I think we finished that process. So the production cluster is, let's say, in secure environment. And any question here? If not, then I will move to the next topic. So where is Jenkins and how to work with Prow? Okay.
Maybe a very short question. Is all this, let's say, production cluster, it is removed already?
Yeah, I already removed the old production cluster. Also, I clean up the old GCP project, so it shouldn't consume that big amount of money anymore.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let's move to the next topic about the Jenkins and Prow. As we are starting moving our repositories to Prow and we are going to disabling Jenkins, I decided it would be fine to present how to work with Prow, because right now, before my yesterday commit, we had 2 repositories migrated to Prow, and mostly on that repositories, people from our working group works because it was test infra. This was the repository where we started with Prow and we tested everything. And also, 2 weeks ago, I migrated website repository because there was a little complicated if it will work with Jenkins. So I instructed my team how it works, etc. Right now, I also moved the community repository. That is a repository where lots of people use. So it will be good to show how to work. I will present everything on, let's say, on test infra repository, because on this repository we have, 13 jobs or something like that, so it will be better looks. Okay, let me create a pull request as a member of organization, Kyma project. So I have right access to the repository, and I'm, let's say, trusted user. Okay, right now, when I create the pull request, you can see that we have lots of jobs here. Most of the jobs are skipped because I didn't change the files that are built by these jobs. So we define the regex pattern that skip the jobs, and only as you can see, I need to wait for 2 jobs because I changed 2 files. It was a markdown file, and also I changed the one of the tests. Okay, so as you can see, the test infra governance also start, but test infra validate pro started. I can go to the details from this view here, and now I can see that my job is in progress, but I can see what is the status of that job. On the status page, we see that I've triggered two jobs for my pull request, and we can monitor it here. We can use the spyglass, like here, and as you can see, this job finished and is success, and there are no issues with links. And also there is another job that still is in progress, but it should fail because I made some change that we didn't pass. So we need to wait a moment for that, for the result of that job. Okay. Also, as you can see, the status of governance job is also still available here. So you can go to the details from that page. You can see the result of the job and everything. So it is okay, but we still need to wait for that validate Prow job. Let's wait a bit more. Okay. And test starts, so it should finish in like a minute. Okay, maybe in the meantime, I will prepare the pull request on the person who is not a member of an organization. I also prepare the pull request on testing for repository, and for the speed up the jobs, I will change the one markdown file, so it will start only the governance job. Okay, I will write in anything, and I will propose that change. Right, and one moment. Oh, as you can see, the job already finished, and the Prow sent a message to the owner of this pull request that some of the tests failed. And the Prow also said what we can do with the tests, because we control the Prow by the comments on the pull request. There's no option like in Jenkins, the triggering the jobs like play button or something like that. All communication with Prow is done by comments. So as you can see, I can, if this is, let's say, some job that failing randomly or something like that, we can retest that job. But okay, let's assume that this that kind of job that we, let's say, Kyma integration, that sometimes it fails. So when I write retest, like here, it will trigger only that job that fails. In that case, it should be the Prow. Let's wait a moment because it needs to be triggered. Uh, Something is wrong. Oh, okay, it already started. It's triggered. But we need to. Oh, as you can see, only one job has been triggered because I said retest, so it needs to. It starts only jobs that fails. But if I want to start all tests that are for this, let's say, pull request where files were changed, I should write the test all. So then all tests for this pull request will be triggered, but only these necessary jobs. But sometimes we may want, I don't know, trigger explicitly one job to test something. So we can write the test command and the name of the test. Then that test will be also triggered. Okay. As you can see, the validate pro is in progress. The infra governance is in progress, and the second one validate pro because I write the test all. Okay. And also bootstrap image is also in progress because I explicitly ask for that. Okay, so what should I do now? When I will fix my pull request, so I will change the file that it should work. As you can see, I changed the name of the branch here. And now it should pass. Okay, that will be looks how our people from our organization will work. So the jobs are scheduled automatically. We don't need to go to the Prow to schedule them, and that's I think is a best feature of that. We don't need to anymore go to the CI and looking for our jobs, etc. It is everything is triggered. But what in case with people who are out not from our organization? Here I will create the pull request when I change the markdown file. And as Adam mentioned, we disabled the Octo test plugin. So people from who are not a member of our organization will see that message. So the Prow welcomed that person and said that he needs to wait for a person from our organization who will trigger the test. For example, if I, as a someone from outside, will write test all, the test will be not triggered. That is important because this is for security reasons, because we have secrets in Prow, etc. So we want to test only trusted code. So right now, as you can see, the jobs are not triggered. But when I, as a member of organization, I will go to that pull request, like here, and I will write the test all. Then the test will start. One important thing, unfortunately, when we disable the Octotest plugin, there is no longer a label that mentioned the need to Octotest. So we don't have a easy way to monitor the pull requests from people who are not members of our organization. So we need to watch them. That this is important. Oh, also when I write as a MH test, you see I cannot trigger the job. But as I read as Michał Chudy, the job were triggered. It's important. And every time when that person will change something, this pull request, we will need to manually trigger the test. They are not triggered automatically. This is important, as I said, for security reasons. Okay, and the last thing about releasing our components. So, like in Jenkins, where we merge a pull request to the master branch, we will build the image to the develop directory on GCR. So there is a way for looking for that jobs. You need to filter by post-submit jobs, right? You can choose the repository. Let's say I want looking for a job that was triggered for Kyma repository for component, and let's say I need some component Kyma component. I don't know API controller. Oh, sorry, there is no job for API controller. So maybe I will look for something else. Oh, I'm looking for this job, right? Let's say. So I just put the name of that job here, and then you can easily find it. And you can go to the logs of that job, and you can find the tag of this image. And then you can go to the resources of Kyma and you can bump image. So are there any questions?
Maybe one question from my side about doing this test all as organization owner on behalf of some external user. The other commands will also work, yeah, like retest and
yes,
test.
everything will work, but it cannot be triggered by person who is outside of our organization. It needs to be triggered by someone from organization, and also I don't know about this if this also is blocked. I don't know. But as you know, this is a plugin that will put the image of the cat, like here.
This works.
This works, but it was as me. And also the list of the commands is listed on the Prow command help, and you can here you have the test. That's all. We don't have enabled all the plugins, but you can choose the repository, for example, Kyma, and you will see available commands for that repository. Okay, the Ogdo test is here because you can mark the repository, but it will not work, I hope. When I write this, like here. nothing changed. As you can see, there is no label octo test. So it's still secure. Any other questions? For example, Anna, is it clear for you because you are the person who are using the community repository, right? Anna?
Yeah, I had to unmute myself. Yeah, so it's pretty clear for me. Yeah, I don't have further questions. So it was nice explanation.
Okay, so I think that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Michał, for your presentation. It was like last point in our agenda, but do any of you have any topics you want to mention right now?
Yes, if I could briefly give you the status of this cleanup jobs. I did not put it in the agenda. I'm sorry because I had planning, the sprints planning just today from the morning. So yeah, I didn't manage to. So let me just very briefly explain how it works and what's not done yet. So we are all, yeah, the knowledge is shared. I will share my screen. Which one now is this? I think it's this one. Do you see screen with Prow? If
Yes.
so,
Yes.
then okay. Then very briefly, what's been done? I will switch to periodic jobs. These are cleanups that were necessary because our integration jobs that actually provision the clusters and virtual machines, sometimes they are terminated, sometimes they fail. Different things can happen. Sometimes API calls fail, and not all resources are cleaned up. And we were collecting kind of the resources were collected and growing, and it costs money, so we had to get rid of them, and we managed to provide cleaners for all important resources, especially these are load balancers, virtual machines, clusters, and disks. These tools run on different schedule. Now it's up to the production cluster administrator to fine-tune the schedule. For that, we need a bit more time. Of course, we don't know how frequently we should clean up. Running them too frequently can also cause problems because it consumes resources and can perhaps provide some limitation for actual jobs that are running, like verifying pull requests and other jobs. Yeah, so we must not run it too frequently, of course. Right now, the load balancers cleaner runs once a day, and the other cleaners runs somewhere from between 2 and 4 hours. They are spread in time so that they do not run at the same moment. So you can see it here, and the example run of, for example, VM virtual machines cleaner from today. This one actually cleaned something. The log is here. It was, yeah, it cleaned 19 virtual machines instances because it was the first run. The tool was merged today, but the rest of them probably, if you look at the logs, you will see nothing, like found no disk to delete. This is normal because they run frequently. Usually the resources are not there. They are cleaned by the previous job. And what's not here yet are two resources that the cluster administrator must remember about: IP addresses and DNS records. We still create them by our integration jobs. The reason they are not cleaners for those is as follows. We are right now evaluating the other approach to install and test Kyma based on XIPIO service, which kind of gives us a way to set up Kyma without actually making a DNS entry. That means we will not have to allocate IP address and DNS record probably. Very soon, in like 2 weeks, there is already a task schedule. There's a task prepared for that. We will try to provide a Prow job for integration testing using that mechanism. And if this works, and we hope, we are pretty sure it will work, then we won't allocate IP addresses and DNS records anymore. So there won't be the need for having a cleaner will also disappear. So that's why there is no cleaner for the time being for these 2 weeks I think we can live with what we have now, and manual cleanup of these two resources perhaps is necessary, but there is no need to test it every day or verify it every day. Perhaps 2 times a week is enough, just to ensure there are no like 100 DNS entries or something like that. Even if so, they are very easy to delete from the GCP console. So that's the status for the jobs. And one more thing about how we can approach a situation like we had with these cleaners when we have a developer that is no longer an admin. So for example, I was preparing this VMS cleaner, virtual machines instance cleaner, but since we switched to a production cluster, a real production cluster this week, I wasn't an admin anymore, so I wasn't really able to test my tool in a production until it's merged. So this, as you can imagine, provides some risk in how to approach it. And we chose a solution that maybe I will show you very quickly. Essentially, it's a two-stage approach. In first pull request, we just provide a tool or a job or whatever, but it runs in dry run mode. So we do a pull request, we can run it locally against some cluster, some mock data, whatever, and we ensure that the dry run mode is such a tool is handled correctly. Then we can merge it in a cluster, and we know it runs in dry run mode. So if we misconfigured something or we forget about something, it won't do any harm. At least at the worst, it will not work. Yes, but it will not cause any troubles. And if it runs fine after a few runs, we just switch it to production configuration. I can show you how it was done here. The switch to production configuration, essentially, what has changed is the cron expression, so that in dry run mode, it runs more frequently every like 10 minutes or something like that to get feedback faster. And of course, dry run was true. In a production config, we switched the schedule to some real value, like every 4 hours or something like that, and dry run is turned to false, so we're turning it on somehow, yeah, so that it will do a real job. So that is an approach that worked, yeah, essentially. So we can, in the future, when we have a situation that the developer is no longer an admin and he doesn't or she doesn't have access to the cluster anymore, as is the case now. So that's the perhaps preferred way to introduce such things, such functionalities. Okay, that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Tomek,
if there are questions. Yes.
I can only confirm that the cleanup works and our found VM machines and clusters were removed by this job. So that's okay.
Okay, thank you, Tomek, for your presentation. Do we have any more topics for today's meeting?
Maybe about this issue that why I created today, what we discussed today, Adam.
Okay.
Because maybe I will share my screen again. One moment. We have 7 minutes.
Yes, we have 7 minutes.
That's perfect. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, one moment. Okay. So yesterday we had a nice discussion with guys from Prow, with Adam, and because there is a problem with setting the default resources requests and limits for jobs. In fact, it is not possible in our configuration, also in Prow configuration, because we was thinking about defining the limit range for the namespace where the jobs will be triggered. But when we define the limit range, that default values are also propagated to clone refs, init upload, and other init containers and sidecar. So in fact, pod will use 5 times more resources that we want. And we discussed it with people from Prow, and they was really surprised. They have the same issue and they didn't notice it. And after discussion, we decided to create the issue, and we are free to make, I don't know, contribute, or maybe they will fix it. So, but this is really important for us because it has a big impact on auto scaling and cluster performance. So that's all. You can put here.
Yes, and for now, Michał is going to specify for every job explicitly that the values, and later we want to update Pro to that version, and then we can just define the default limit range, and configuration will be much more simple. Yes.
Exactly.
Yep.
So
Okay.
that's all.
Anything more for today? If no, thank you for attending, and I would like to remind you that next meeting is cancelled because of the holidays, so we meet in 2 weeks. So thank you and bye.
Merry
Thank you.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Bye.